second book. It was challenging, the first one.
Because he wanted to be in the place of love.
Somebody came up with the idea.
And he was 100% accurate in his prediction.
Selenium, iodine, or calcium, you don't have to know any of that stuff. All you have to be able to do is chew.
What else do you believe you want in your life? What else?
More love.
More love. Yes, yes.
The energy to do all the things I want to do.
The energy to do all that you want to do. Absolutely. What else? What else do you want in your life? Better health? Yes. More energy? Okay. How about clarity? Does anybody feel like sometimes we just need clarity around what we do, the decisions that we have to make? So clarity, clarity in our minds, clarity in our hearts. What else that you might be looking for?
Enlightenment.
Enlightenment.
Better quality.
Better quality of life. Huh?
Lack of negative interference from others.
Lack of negative interference from others. Okay? So how about better relationships? Does anybody want a better relationship in any area of your life? Mm-hmm. Better relationships. I see many hands back there. Yes. Better relationships. Okay? So think about what it is you do want in life. What is it that you do want in life? Okay? And at this time, what I'd like to do, I am going to ask someone that has recently completed our program to come up and speak to you for just a moment. And he is now in our educator program and is working in the educator program that we have there in Atlanta that Brenda has set up, that once you complete our 12-day program that you have the opportunity to come back and to be an educator with Living Foods Institute. And I know Brenda's going to be talking more about that in just a little while. But I'd like to leave you with a few affirmations before I call Sebastian up here. So if y'all would like to repeat a few after me, if you'd like to share in these. Okay? So let's just take a good deep breath. Good deep breath. Take a good breath of that oil. Release it now. Think about what it is that we want to let go of. What are some of the things that we do want to let go of, okay? And what are some of the things that we do want in our lives? So, again, good deep breath. Breathe it in. Being very focused and knowing right now is where our power is. This moment, this present moment is always where our power is. It's not in the past. That's over and done with. It's not in the future. That hasn't happened yet. But our power is in this present moment. So a few affirmations if you'd like to share them. Ready? Life is good.
Life is good.
I am good.
I am good.
I deserve the best in life.
I deserve the best in life.
I send love.
I send love.
I receive love.
I receive love.
I am abundant.
I am abundant.
I am prosperous.
I am prosperous.
I'm successful in all that I do.
I'm successful in all that I do.
I love and approve of myself.
I love and approve of myself.
I am smart.
I am smart.
I can do this.
I can do this.
I have fun in life.
I have fun in life.
Everything I do with ease.
Everything I do with ease.
I love and approve of myself.
I love and approve of myself.
I am healed.
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 And so it is.
And so it is.
Right. Thank you so much. I would like to again ask Sebastian, if you would, I'd like to ask you to come on up and share just a moment of a testimony about your experience at class.
Love to.
And being an educator. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you. Hi, I'm Sebastian. I'm a cancer survivor. Due largely to this wonderful lady here on the right. And the institute that she represents. Realized that in the healing arts for over 40 years as a board-certified acupuncturist, chiropractor, and nutritionist, and I have my own wellness center. And so it came as quite a surprise when I found out I had melanoma a little over 2 years ago. And naturally, I opted to go the natural way. Oncologists thought I was out of my mind for not wanting to do chemotherapy. Well, I decided to go the natural way, and I was very proactive. And one of the things I did was I attended a workshop given by Brenda, and what she said made a lot of sense to me. And I called up to get more information, but the timing wasn't right for me. I felt, I couldn't possibly leave my practice for 10 days and go to Georgia. And so I did some other things, and I worked at it hard for about 6 months, changed my diet. Anyway, after 6 months, I had some tests done. Everything was better. And then I got sloppy again. This was back a year ago, June. And I put some weight back on. I was under a lot of stress. And went for a 6-month checkup, and lo and behold, the cancer was coming back. Well, don't you know, that same day when I got home from getting the results, I got a call from the Living Food Institute. And it was a volunteer saying that they had some scholarships if you'd like to come. I mean, I don't know about you, but I don't think anything in life is a coincidence. I felt like God was talking to me. And I couldn't go in December because the Institute's closed in December. But I went down in January, and it's the best thing I've ever done. And I learned, I thought I knew a lot about healing. But this place, you know, I've been to many, many seminars over the years. I've been on detoxification weekends. I mean, you name it, I've been subjected to it. But I've never been to a place that treated the whole person that had the ailment, looking at the entire person, not just the ailment. You go to places that may focus on just the emotional or just the biochemical or the structural. This place takes everything into consideration. They really did their homework. And I have to tell you, I've been down there 5 times this year, and I just love being there. And it's so rewarding to see the results. While you're there, you see transformation in people. People that they're sitting in class wrapped up in blankets, cold all the time, and after 6 or 7 days, they're coming alive. I mean, it's just a beautiful thing. And that's when Brenda told me about the educator program, the little voice inside of me said, you know what, this is what you got to do. You got to be able to start teaching people and giving back, and it's the best thing that I've ever done. And I just want to thank you again. Very special lady. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Sebastian.
Okay.
Let's send him some love. Thank you so much. And at this time, I would like to bring Brenda Cobb up. She is, of course, the founder of the Living Foods Institute in Atlanta, Georgia. Brenda and I have known each other for almost 30 years. And the amazing thing about that is we actually still speak to each other. We like being around each other, and we have a great time in life. And it is just an absolute privilege and an honor to work with Brenda, to be with her in this life. And I would just like to say thank you for all that you do and all the journey that you have gone through, because if you hadn't made your journey, none of this would be possible. So if I could we just send Brenda lots of love. Come on up. I'd like to turn this over to you. Thank you.
All right. We're going to make a little quick switch here with the microphone. We'll just so beautifully and so smoothly. But she also teaches every day the emotional healing workshops. Okay? So every day we are working with you in helping you to heal whatever it may be that is the emotional stuff. Because you know something that I have discovered? That is, you can change what you eat. You can change the way that you think. But if you have emotional stuff that is going on, then you are not going to heal because of that emotional stuff. All right? So we've got to get the emotional body, the emotional self, completely cleared. All right. Okay? And the reason that I say that is because, you know, we're known as the Living Foods Institute. So as you can imagine, what is a lot of the things that we're teaching about? What? Food, right? We're talking about food. So a lot of times when people come to see us, they really think this is just going to be about food, but I'm going to learn everything there is about food. And boy, do we ever. Because we have this big, wonderful kitchen. And we have lots of prep stations. We have Vitamixes, and we have food processors and dehydrators and juicers and knives and cutting boards and herbs and spices. And all the students gather in and get at the prep stations. We teach how to prepare the recipes, but the students actually prepare them themselves. And there's nothing like hands-on. When you do it yourself and you go home, you got it, right? You know what you're doing. So sometimes people come that have never even been in the kitchen preparing food before. We have men, we have women, we even have young people that come. As long as you are 11 or 12 years old and accompanied by one of your parents, you can come. And I think that's exciting to see younger children are getting excited. Now, sometimes these children come with their parents because they are ill, because they have cancer or diabetes or rheumatoid arthritis or many issues that it used to be that we would see in older people, but now we're finding are showing up more and more in our children. We want to empower young people to get started like this. You know, in February of 1999, I was diagnosed with breast and cervical cancer. So the doctor said to me, you must do surgery, chemo, and radiation. And when I said, I'm not going to do surgery, chemo, and radiation, he said, why? I said, because my mother and my aunts on both sides of my mom and my dad's family have had breast, cervical, uterine, ovarian, and other types of cancers. And they have done those surgeries. They've had mastectomies, they've had hysterectomies, and so forth, and they have taken chemotherapy and radiation. And in some cases, those treatments actually kill them. Have you ever heard of that, when people took these toxic treatments and they died from the treatments? And others did the treatments and thought they were all better, but then what happened? It relapsed. It came back again. So when people say to me, because I get calls all the time from people all over the world that will say, I did the surgery, I did the chemo, I did the radiation, and now this cancer or whatever the disease is has come back. I said, well, you know, in actuality, if we really get clear on this, it never went anywhere. It didn't ever go away. Because when we are treating the body with chemicals and drugs, or we're cutting out a tumor or a problem, did we really do anything to heal the body? We didn't do anything to heal it. We just treated a symptom, right? We even mask symptoms sometimes. People might have a headache and take a pill, and then they go, well, oh, good, my headache is gone. Did the headache actually go anywhere? It didn't go anywhere. It's still there, but now we have blocked our ability with a drug to feel what's going on. But our body is giving us messages through pain or being uncomfortable. It is just begging us, please help me. We're the only one that can help our bodies. So when we have pain, it actually is a good thing because our body is alerting us that there is a problem. Okay? So I know pain doesn't feel good, and it is an easy thing just to go and grab a pill and try to take something so you don't have the pain. But instead, let's look at what is the cause of this problem. How do we develop it? And now what can we do to really support the body to be able to heal itself? So a part of our program is really getting in there at every level. So we start every day. First of all, when people come in every day, of course we're having our wheatgrass juice. Wheatgrass juice has most every vitamin and mineral known to man. Pure chlorophyll, very cleansing. And did you know there have been scientific studies done using wheatgrass where they have found that cancer cells can't live in wheatgrass, but neither can germs and viruses and bacteria live in wheatgrass. So wheatgrass can do a lot for us. Now it's best to juice our wheatgrass fresh and drink it right then. Okay? Certainly there are powdered wheatgrasses and there are frozen wheatgrasses. So when I'm asked, well, can I take that? Well, of course you can, but is it optimum? Not really. And if you want the optimum, it's going to be juice it fresh and drink it within maybe 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, somewhere in that time frame so you get it right in your body. Something else that you can do with wheatgrass juice that is very helpful is you can actually implant wheatgrass juice into your colon. First, we teach our students how they can clean their colons at home very easily and very simply by doing an enema. Now, I know a lot of times we don't want to talk about that. We may say that's just more information than I need to know. Let's just don't even go there, please. And I do have students sometimes to say to me, I'm going to come to the center and I definitely am going to eat the food and I believe in the emotional healing, but I'm not going to do an enema. I say, well, you know, that's all right, I'm not going to make you or try to make you do anything, but I believe that once you come, and I believe that once you hear and learn about the benefits, and I believe that as you see your other fellow classmates improving right before your eyes and giving these fantastic testimonies of what these enemas and wheatgrass implants will do and can do and have done for them, I'll bet you're going to be inspired. And even though I hear you saying that you're not going to do it, when you come, we're still going to give you as a gift an enema bag, a catheter, and a syringe. Okay, so you'll have it right there if you want to do it. So wheatgrass juice can really help. First, you want to clean out your colon, and I did write a book. If you don't know how to do this, it's an easy read. It's called Colon Cleansing for Optimum Health. It takes you step by step in how to clean out your colon, exactly the supplies that you will need, the type of water, how much water to use, and how to get that toxic waste out. Once you have gotten some of the waste out, then we have this wonderful special little plunge syringe that we just draw the wheatgrass right up into, and we have a nice long, very thin catheter, and it doesn't hurt at all. So you can actually insert it in the colon, and it can go quite high in there without your feeling anything. And then you can just hit the plunger, and that wheatgrass goes up high and begins to work, and it begins to heal. Have you ever heard of something called leaky gut syndrome, where a colon is so ill and diseased that actually the fecal waste is so acidic that it has eaten holes right through the colon, and then that fecal matter and that waste can leak back out into the body cavity. Now you can imagine that could make a person really ill, okay? We also could have issues with things like hemorrhoids or other sores on the colon. And one thing that people are really infested with and don't realize it many times is worms and parasites. So we want to get the worms and parasites out of the body, and just by cleaning the colon, putting the wheatgrass in, getting rid of the waste and the worms and the parasites, do you imagine that people would feel much better? And we see it quickly. They start feeling better fast. It isn't that they have to wait for weeks or months or even many, many days. We can see many people will come in within 24 hours or 48 hours of experiencing our program and say, wow, I feel so much better already. That's encouraging, isn't it? So every time you feel a little better, you're encouraged to want to do even more. So once we have that wheatgrass juice in the morning, then we all gather in the kitchen, and we use 100% organic raw fruits and vegetables, nuts and seeds, and sprouted living foods. So you can imagine we're going to be teaching you how to sprout. And I'm going to talk to you about how to do that today, and I actually have brought some sprouts for you to taste. We get it in there at our prep stations. Everybody has a wonderful training manual, big thick manual with over 100 recipes, and we start making recipes. Now, I'm a big believer in quick, easy, and fast. How many people want it all quick, easy, and fast? Good. All right, you're going to love the recipes then because we're busy. And many of the things can actually even be prepared ahead of time. Some of the recipes will keep in the refrigerator for a little bit longer than a day or two, so you maybe can even prepare and then have it ready. You can prepare a wonderful salad dressing. It's all ready in there. We do a wonderful tomato basil sauce, and we have a nice little machine that makes fresh, organic, raw pasta out of all kinds of various vegetables. It is so delicious. We can even have it warm if we want to because we have a dehydrator. We can toss it with a sauce, and we make a wonderful sauce that has some nuts in there, and it tastes just like if you were eating a meat sauce, but better. We can pop that in that dehydrator and warm it up and have a big nice plate of pasta. You getting hungry? I know it, aren't you? We also teach you how to make cheese. How many people like cheese? But you know, we don't recommend that you eat dairy products. So we teach you how to make cheese using nuts and seeds. We also teach you how to make something called Rejuvelac. And Rejuvelac is a lightly fermented beverage, very good for your health. And that Rejuvelac can be used to mix with nuts and seeds, excuse me, and it can ferment and make a beautiful cheese. Now, we then flavor that cheese, so we can make ricotta cheese, Parmesan cheese, cheddar cheese, pepper cheese, all kinds of cheeses. And this Parmesan cheese flavor, we can put that in the dehydrator, dehydrate it, take it out, and it will be just crumbly. We can crumble it up, make that big plate of pasta, crumble that cheese on top, and yum. It is so delicious. We make a raw lasagna. And of course, we have a machine that makes a lasagna noodle out of fresh, raw vegetables. And we are not cooking anything. But that lasagna can also go right in that dehydrator. We dehydrate at 90 to 95 degrees. It comes out, it's nice and warm. We can make a meatloaf, but it never has any meat in it. It has nuts and seeds and herbs and spices and a special barbecue sauce on top. It will rival anybody's meatloaf. In fact, I make it for my friends who eat meats and so forth, and I have them come over to the house, have like a little dinner party, and we'll all be having my fresh, organic, raw, and living foods. And everybody's eating and eating, and all of a sudden somebody will stop, and it'll kind of resonate with them. They'll look at me and they'll say, "I didn't think you ate meat." I said, "I don't eat meat." They go, "But you already had 2 pieces of that meat loaf." I said, "Well, that is not a meatloaf, that is a meatless loaf." Okay? "But that is the best meatloaf I've ever tasted," they say. I said, "I'm so glad that you like it. You know what? It's got almonds, it's got some walnuts, it's got some seeds, some sunflower seeds. It has some wonderful herbs and spices and that great sauce on top. I even make a barbecued spare rib. It tastes exactly like barbecue." So when people eat it, my mouth's watering now. When people eat it, they're like, "Wow, this tastes so good." So there are so many recipes, whatever it is that you really love. We make raw Italian food, raw Greek food, raw Indian food, raw American food. We make every type of food that you might enjoy. You can pretty much take any recipe that you love and turn it into a raw and or living foods recipe. Now, a part of when we're getting in the kitchen together is, one thing we're doing is we're all learning how to plant wheatgrass. So you're able to learn when you come to the center how to plant wheatgrass right in your kitchen. You do not need a garden. You do not need a big space. You can have a tiny little apartment and you can grow your own beautiful wheatgrass right there. Now certainly you can go to health food stores and other grocery stores that sell wheatgrass and you can buy it from them, but it's just pennies to grow it for yourself. Okay? We grow sunflower sprouts. We grow buckwheat lettuce sprouts right in our own kitchen. And very easily we sprout all kinds of different beans. Now, one of the beans that I brought with me today, and I want to tell you how to sprout them yourself and also serve you some of them. Would you like to taste some sprouted mung beans? Yeah. All right. So, Jane, would you pass these out? And everybody can just take a cup and enjoy. But let me show you how easy that it is to sprout right in your own home. Now, how many have ever sprouted before? Let's see. Okay. All right. Now, one of the methods, a method that I was taught early on, was a method that used a glass jar. Who has sprouted in glass jars? All right, well, that's great. You can certainly sprout in glass jars. You got to have a glass jar, like a mason jar. And then you also have got to have some type of a piece of netting that will go over the top of it. So you can buy that at a cloth store, or you can even go to like a Home Depot or a Lowe's, and you can get a mesh and you can cut that. You need a rubber band. And so you need to put that rubber band around it. You need to put those beans in that jar. You need to fill it up with water. You need to let it soak overnight. And the next day, you got to rinse those beans and pour that water out and turn that jar on about a 45-degree angle and let that water drain out, because if you let it sit up and sit in the water, it can mold, it can mildew, bacteria can grow, and you don't want that. All right, so that's kind of what I call the original old-fashioned way of sprouting. But now, you know, everything gets improved over time. The easiest way now to sprout does not involve any of that. All it involves is you're getting one of these neat little sprout bags, okay? That's all it is. You take your sprout bag and you take your mung beans. Okay, now mung beans are easy for you to find. These are organic. Get organic now so that they're not grown with chemicals or sprayed with chemicals. Okay? You can take just a cup of these mung beans and you just put them in your bag Once they go in the bag, just draw up the string, take that whole bag and just sit it down in a bowl of filtered water. Now the reason you want to use good water is because if you use water out of the tap that hasn't been filtered, what are you going to be getting and putting in your beans? Fluoride. What else? Chlorine. And there's other things in there too, like what? Chemicals, mercury, lead. There's all kinds of things in there, and sometimes many hundreds of chemicals that are in the water, okay? So we want pure filtered water. Now, if you have a water filtration system at home, which I believe is a wonderful investment, we have an alkaline water system at our center because we believe not only is it important to filter the water, but we want to make the water alkaline for the body too. So we have a system that we can adjust the level of alkalinity for the individual depending on what we're doing to help their body, okay? All right, so now look, this goes down in that bowl overnight and you just leave it in there. When you get up the next day, take it out, and all you have to do then is just rinse it with that, again, some fresh water, and then you can either just lay it in a colander, or if you want to, if you're camping, I love to get out in the woods and hike and camp, you could just take this and tie it on your belt loop. You got a fresh spring somewhere and some clean water, you could even just stick it down in there, you know, depending on where you're camping. We have up in the North Georgia mountains some really wonderful clear crystal waters coming right out of the mountains. And you can be sprouting your own food while you're taking a hike. You could hang this up in a hotel room. Okay, you can just take one of your little coat hangers out of your closet and hang it up. You could hang it up on the bathroom rod. It is so simple, okay? Now, when I got into New York the other day, on Tuesday, okay, I brought my beans and my bags, and I put one of these in my bag, and I just put my bag down in my water. I did bring a plastic bowl with me, or a glass bowl. You can use, I like glass better, I will tell you, okay. I just set it down in there, and it soaked overnight. The next day I took it out. I dumped that water out that I had soaked it in. I put some fresh water and I just sloshed it around a little bit. And then I bought a colander with me because I was going to demonstrate to you, but you don't even have to have a colander. I just put this down in the colander. I rinsed it in the morning and I rinsed it again in the evening, just enough to keep the beans damp. And look how quickly they sprouted and how many beans I got out of that tiny little bit. Now, you can go to the store and buy sprouted beans. I don't know how much you pay for them here, but in Georgia, we pay between $3.99 and $5.99 for a little container. Is that about what you pay too? Okay, you're talking about pennies here. I mean, literally. You could sprout probably a huge big bag like this for maybe $1. And these little bags will keep and keep and keep. So you just rinse them out. You can throw them in the washing machine or just hand wash them out, maybe with a little Castile soap or something, or even just rinse them. And you can make as many sprouts as you would like. How do you like the mung bean sprouts? Do you like them? They've got kind of a little bit of a sweet flavor to them, don't they? Okay. Really, really delicious. Okay. Now, mung beans have over 30% protein. Who knew it? Wow, right? But you know what? Beef has like 21, 22%. What would you rather eat? Would you rather eat beef that is going to give your body uric acid, worms, parasites, make digestion difficult, create toxic waste in your body, not be able to digest, create acid reflux, indigestion, heartburn, arthritis, gout? Because, you know, a lot of our problems now, honestly, are coming from eating animals. And if we would stop eating animals, you know, Deepak Chopra says that we'll never bring peace to our planet or healing to our planet as long as we're eating the animals. And I have to say, I agree with that, okay? So if we would go to plant-based protein, like these fantastic sprouts, we would be helping our health, and we also would be helping the planet, okay? Very, very easy to do. And very simple and quick. So you can take any of your beans. Now, mung beans have a lot of high protein, vitamins, minerals. So that's a really good one. Another one you could sprout would be some sprouted lentils. I have found that the green or the brownish looking lentils, they sprout really well. I have found that personally the red ones don't sprout as well. The yellow ones don't sprout as well. They do sprout, but not quite as well as the others. Azuki beans you can sprout. You can sprout black-eyed peas. You can sprout chickpeas. In fact, I make a wonderful raw and living hummus. I soak my garbanzo chickpeas overnight. I sprout them for about a day or so where the tail comes out. And the recipe for my hummus is actually in my Living Foods Lifestyle book. It's so easy. I add a little bit of garlic, I add a little bit of raw tahini, I add a little bit of chickpea miso, a little bit of lemon juice in there, blend it all up in the Vitamix or blend it all up in the food processor until it becomes really creamy. I promise you, it will be the best hummus you've ever eaten. And you'll say that, not just me telling you that, but the reason I say that is because when people taste my hummus, they say, this is the best hummus I've ever eaten. It tastes nothing like the hummus that you buy from the stores that is cooked. Because when we cook our food, what happens? We cook the enzymes out. We really cook it to what? We cook it to death, don't we? I was born and raised in the South, and my mama always told me, you want good collard greens, mustard greens, and all these kale greens, right? What do you got to do? You got to cook them half the day, right? You got to put some fat back or salt pork or some kind of meat. You know, that's just the way that we did it in the South. Have any of you heard of these recipes before? Okay, so you cook them, you cook them, you cook them, and then what?
I said I'm originally from Texas.
You're originally from Texas, so you know you cook and cook and cook, right? You're just cooking it to death, okay? So now I've got a recipe in here for you also called marinated greens. So rather than cook to death greens, you can take these fantastic, wonderful greens, chop them up, use some of the herbs and the spices and some of the dressing that we make, and let it just sit in there and marinate. And actually the marinade cooks it. You know, it's not a heat, but it kind of makes it soft, makes a great texture. The only problem is you don't know when to stop eating it because it tastes so good, okay? You can overeat on raw foods, too, that taste really good. We do make a lot of really delicious foods, but we do our best not to make delicious foods to the detriment of good health. Now, a lot of people make raw foods, you know, all over the country, but some raw foods are really so greasy and so rich that a tiny little bit can even sometimes give people upset tummies or heartburn or whatever because there's just too much. We really have created and have found ways to be able to make these wonderful raw and living food recipes that are not only very good for you and tasting really good, but they're healthy and they're cleansing at the same time. So that's really a win-win-win situation for everybody concerned. So think of any recipe that you like. We make milk, but we don't use dairy. So we get everybody in the kitchen and we show them how to soak their almonds and sprout the almonds and then how to take the skins off the almonds and put them in the Vitamix blender, which you'll hear me mention that machine a lot. It's just a high-speed, wonderful blending machine, but it has the horsepower of something that is kind of like a lawnmower, and so it just will blend it up just like that. So you can put in those sprouted nuts, put that filtered, we use the alkaline water, which tastes amazing. That goes in there. We blend it up, and then to make it even better, we will take it and we will use this bag that we sprouted in. Now we use it and we pour that milk through here, and then we just take it and strain it out. So any of those particles that are not really smooth, they'll stay up in here, and that milk comes out. It is creamy white. Kathleen is going, you're thinking about it, aren't you, Kathleen? I see Kathleen's been to our program, and she goes, it is so good. It's really great. Children love this milk as well, but it is not a dairy product. Now you can then take what is left in your bag and you can mix it with fruits and nuts and so forth. You can put it in the dehydrator and you can make a great cookie. All right, so we don't waste food either. Even when we are juicing, we can take the pulp that comes out and we actually can mix it with special things and put it in the dehydrator, and we can make little crunchy, wonderful things that can be sprinkled on top of a salad. So it's great not to waste any of your food. So this little bag will make delicious cheese. And there are recipes in my books for cheese. So it'll tell you how to make your Rejuvelac, which is easy. Who's made Rejuvelac before? Okay, few of you, very simple. Mix your Rejuvelac in with your nuts or seeds. Put it in your, now we're going to call it a cheese bag. So it's a sprout bag, it's a milk bag, now it's a cheese bag. So just put the mixture in here, tie it up, put it in the colander, leave it out on the counter overnight, and I just put it in a bowl so that any of the Rejuvelac liquid can drain out. And the next day, I've got this delicious cheese. Now, it does not have lots of flavor, so it's a very mild at that point, but then we have all these recipes of telling you what herbs and spices to add to give it a flavor. If you want ricotta cheese, you add something, cheddar cheese, something else, Parmesan cheese, something else, pepper jack cheese, something else. So you can create any kind of a cheese. You can make these great cheese balls for the holidays. We also do dressings and things that will substitute for your meat. So rather than a turkey, we would have maybe something called a nutki, okay, made with your nuts, okay. Savory sage dressings. We can do our cranberry sauce. We make a delicious sweet potato or yam pie with a wonderful whipped topping. Remember, not made from dairy, but just made from our wonderful nuts. That goes on top. It is absolutely delicious. So anything that you want to create for any season of the year, you can do that with your raw and your living food. So sprouting can be really fun, can it? You know, a lot of times people are so worried about that, how are they going to get enough protein? And I like to remind people to think about our animals that are so powerful, like the elephant, the gorilla. They live out in the forest. They do not cook any of their food. I absolutely know this to be a fact. They do not cook, okay? They pick the grasses, they eat the leaves, they eat the bark, they eat the trees, they eat the vegetation. Now they make thousands of pounds of muscle out of the protein that they get from those wonderful plant resources. So that right there tells you that you do not have to eat meat in order to get protein. Do you believe it? You definitely do not have to, okay? You can get it all from your wonderful organic, raw, and living foods. Now, after we have prepared those foods in our kitchen at our center each day, I mean, from the minute that we're preparing it, one thing we prepare right away is something called energy soup. Energy soup recipe is in this book as well. Easy to prepare, blend it up. You can take it with you wherever you're going and just turn it up and drink it. And a lot of times that makes it really easy. You don't have to even think about it, okay? You make that energy soup, you're drinking on that energy soup while you're making all these other delicious recipes. Then once you finish all your recipes, we all sit down, we have a nice wonderful meal together. And that's just the beginning of our eating, because actually there are vegetables and fruits and all kinds of things that are offered all day long. Big pitchers of energy soup that we keep filled constantly. Big pitchers of that alkaline water that we keep filled. So people are able to eat all day long. So you're not going to be hungry. If you decide to come to our program, in fact, probably on the other end you may say, do I have to eat more? I'm full. I don't want to eat anything else. So you'll get plenty of food. Once we have done all of our recipes and we've had that nice lunch and everything, then in the afternoon every day we begin then working on our emotional healing. And we do all types of things. We are doing a very wonderful quantum edge, cutting edge healing technique called DNA therapies. Now this is something that has not always been available to us. So now when I started in '99, diagnosed with breast and cervical cancer, it took me 6 months to completely heal. I didn't do surgery, I didn't do chemo, I didn't do radiation. I just did this holistic approach with the food, the cleansing, the detoxification, the mental thinking, the emotional healing. I used some essential oils, I used some herbs, okay? Took me 6 months. But today, because we have even more of these wonderful therapies like this DNA work, that we can go in and we can actually reprogram DNA. We can remove the blockages of energy that we have inherited from our ancestors. Because a lot of things that are going on with us today are actually ancestral. And they don't really apply to us today. They don't serve us well anymore.